Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Please consider subscribing and check out our Patreon for more. Enjoy the video. Darius glanced out the window, ensuring the familiar cars were parked in the driveway across the road, a sign that his neighbors were home and oblivious to his secret ritual about to unfold. His mother, Mrs. Miller, had left for her weekend getaway just an hour before. As her car pulled out of the driveway, Darius felt a rush of excitement. He knew he had the entire house to himself and could indulge in his clandestine passion without fear of discovery. With a quick glance around, he confirmed that the coast was clear. Then, with practiced ease, he crossed the room and opened his closet. Hidden beneath a stack of sweaters, he retrieved a small, battered trunk. It was his treasure chest, a collection of silks, satins, and lacy secrets that transformed him and took him to another world. Placing the trunk on his bed, he lifted the lid, inhaling the familiar scent of powder and perfume. His fingers traced over the contents lovingly, the soft fabrics and delicate laces, a stark contrast to the rough jeans and t-shirts he usually wore. Let's see. Tonight, I feel like being... Yes, Danielle. That's who I want to be. He lifted out a pair of silk stockings, running them through his fingers with a soft caress. He admired the sheen of the fabric, a deep burgundy that would hug his legs and transform them into sensual feminine stems. Carefully, he laid them on the bed, smoothing out the wrinkles with gentle strokes. Next, he selected a pair of satin and panties, a matching burgundy that accentuated the stockings. He held them up, imagining how they would feel against his skin, the soft lace brushing his thighs as he walked. With a slight smile, he placed them on the bed, ready for when he stepped into them, a ritualistic dress-up game. The transformatory ritual had commenced, and he meticulously laid out each article of clothing, construing an alter ego emerging. He chose a lacy black bra, the cups padded to give him the curvature he desired. It was a delicate piece, the straps thin and adorned with silk bows. His heart raced as he pictured himself filling it out, his chest transformed into a feminine bosom. It's been a while, Danielle. Time to bring you back to life. Darius spoke to his alter ego as if she were a real person, a friend he hadn't seen in a while. It added to the fantasy, making it feel more alive and immersive. He carefully selected a wig, a long, wavy blonde number that fell in soft curls past his imaginary shoulders. He held it up, picturing how the golden locks would frame his face, giving him a whole new identity. The wig had a side-swept fringe that would brush his eyebrows, completing the feminine disguise. Perfect. Now for the makeup. Darius had honed his makeup skills over many secretive practice sessions. He had watched countless online tutorials, mastering the art of contouring and highlighting to sculpt his features. From his stash, he retrieved a small, well-used train case that held an array of cosmetics, a rainbow of eyeshadows, lipsticks, and foundations. He opened the case, the mirror inside revealing his reflection, a blank canvas ready to be painted. His fingers itched with anticipation as he swirled them over the different textures and colors. Tonight, I feel like a smoky eye, something dramatic. He selected a palette of dark grays and blacks, along with a set of brushes. With precision, he began to transform his eyes, blending and smoking out the colors to give them depth and mystery. He accentuated his lashes with a coat of mascara, elongating and curling them to frame his eyes. His fingers, now adept at blending and brushing, applied a light foundation to his face, neck, and chest, evening out his skin tone and creating a flawless canvas. A dusting of rosy blush added a soft glow to his cheeks, and he highlighted his features to enhance their angles. His lips, now a canvas of their own, were first lined and then filled with a deep crimson lipstick. He blotted and reapplied, ensuring the color would last throughout the night. A final swipe of gloss added a sheen, making them full and inviting. Darius paused, admiring his handiwork. The transformation was already remarkable. He looked like a different person, and the illusion excited him. Danielle, you're coming to life. He stood, smoothed the silk stockings over his legs, and stepped into the burgundy heels. They were a perfect fit, and he loved the way they made his legs look longer and more graceful. She clicked across the room, a sound that thrilled him. He admired his legs, now shapely and sensuous, the muscles shifting beneath the glossy stockings. Now for the piece de resistance. Darius lifted a form-fitting black dress from his trunk. It was a number he'd found online, designed to hug every curve and create an hourglass silhouette. The fabric was soft and stretchy, clinging in all the right places. He carefully stepped into it, pulling it up over his hips and settling it on his waist. The dress accentuated his slim figure, and he loved the way it made him feel powerful. With a final adjustment of the dress and a shake of his blonde locks, Danielle was ready for her debut. Showtime. The sound of his voice, now lower and more masculine, startled him. It was a reminder that for now, Darius was hidden away, and Danielle reigned supreme. She twirled, admiring the way the dress moved with her, the swish of fabric a delightful sensation. She strutted across the room, her hips swaying slightly, and struck a pose, one hand on her hip. "Wow, girl, you look fine!" The words slipped from his lips, and he couldn't help but smile. Danielle was confident, sassy, and full of life. She was everything Darius wanted to be, and in this moment, she was real. The evening stretched before her, full of possibilities. Should she pour a glass of wine and indulge in a fake girls' night in, or venture out and explore the city as her new self? The options were thrilling, and the decision was a delicious dilemma. Danielle's fingers trailed over the makeup palette, considering her options. A night in would be relaxing, but the allure of strutting her stuff was irresistible. After all, what was the point of all this effort if she couldn't show herself off? "I didn't dress up to stay home. It's time to paint the town red, or, in my case, burgundy." With a final touch-up of her lipstick, Danielle grabbed her phone and a small clutch. She checked her reflection one more time, smoothed her dress, and headed out. The night air was cool on her bare arms as she walked down the driveway and onto the sidewalk. Her stilettos clicked on the pavement, announcing her presence to the world. She felt empowered, her secret self now on full display. As she strolled, she noticed the glances she was attracting. A group of guys walking by whistled, and she offered a smile and a wave, her confidence soaring. "You go, girl!" The words of encouragement, spoken in a deep male voice, made her chuckle. It was a strange dichotomy. Darius would have felt uncomfortable and self-conscious, but Danielle fed off the attention. She felt alive, invincible even. Danielle wandered into a nearby bar, the low hum of conversation and music drawing her in. She slid onto a bar stool, crossing her legs and drawing the eye of the bartender. "What can I get you?" The bartender, a tall, muscular man with tattoos snaking up his arms, smiled at her. Danielle felt a flutter in her chest, knowing that her disguise was working, that she was passing as a genetic woman. "A cosmopolitan, please. Extra cranberry," she ordered with a smile, knowing the drink was a classic choice, a symbol of female empowerment popularized by a certain New York columnist. As the bartender mixed her drink, she studied her surroundings, taking in the dim lighting and the cozy booths. The bar was busy, but not crowded, and a live band was setting up in the corner. Her eyes scanned the room, taking in the other patrons. There were couples deep in conversation and groups of friends sharing jokes and stories. Her heart warmed at the sight of a solo woman reading a book in the corner, her drink and a plate of fries her only company. "Here you go, Cosmo. Extra cranberry, just like you like it." The bartender slid the drink across the bar, and Danielle felt a rush of pleasure at his assumption. He thought she was a regular, a woman who frequented bars and knew what she wanted. "Thanks." She took a sip, savoring the sweet-tart combination. It was perfect, and she felt like she'd stepped into the pages of a glossy magazine, living the life she'd always dreamed of. As the band started to play, a soft jazz number, Danielle closed her eyes, letting the music wash over her. She imagined herself as one of the characters she'd read about in books or seen in movies, a mysterious woman with a secret life, a life that only came alive when she stepped into a pair of heels. The bar filled up, and as the band played on, couples took to the small dance floor. Danielle watched, a slight sadness creeping into her heart. She wanted to dance, to feel the rhythm move through her, but she had no partner. "Care to dance?" A male voice, deep and slightly raspy, interrupted her thoughts. She opened her eyes to find a man standing nearby, a smile on his face. He was tall, with dark hair and eyes that crinkled pleasantly at the corners. "Oh," Danielle was caught off guard. She hadn't considered this possibility, and her heart raced as she debated her response. "I mean, unless you're waiting for someone, in which case I'll just slink away and leave you to it." His charm offensive was working, and Danielle found herself torn. On one hand, she wanted to preserve her secret, keep Danielle safe and hidden. But on the other, she craved this, a normal interaction, a chance to be a woman desired and asked to dance. "No, I mean, yes, I'd love to dance." She smiled, and his face lit up. He held out his hand, and she placed her smaller one in his. He led her to the dance floor, and as the band launched into a slower jazz standard, they began to move together. It was like a dream. Danielle felt herself relax into his arms, her body instinctively moving with his. The world seemed to fade away, and for a few precious moments, she was just another woman, dancing with a handsome stranger. "You're a great dancer." His breath tickled her ear, and she shivered slightly. "Thanks. You're not so bad yourself." She smiled up at him, feeling bold and flirty, two sensations that were new and exhilarating. As the song ended, they remained on the dance floor, lost in their own little world. "I'm Michael, by the way." "Danielle." She liked the way her name rolled off his tongue, and she felt a pang of something. Regret, perhaps, that this Danielle was not entirely real. They chatted easily, and as another song started, they fell into step with the rhythm, their bodies swaying closer. The night wore on, and Danielle found herself reluctant to leave. Michael was charming and funny, and she felt a connection with him that went beyond the physical. But as the clock struck midnight, she knew it was time to go. "I should head home." "Already? The night's still young." Michael looked disappointed, and Danielle's heart twisted. "I know, but I have an early start tomorrow." It was a half-truth, but she knew it was wise to leave on a high note. "Can I at least walk you home?" His concern was sweet, and she couldn't deny the tug on her heartstrings. "Okay." They strolled back to her place, the night air cooling their flushed cheeks. Danielle felt a sense of comfort walking beside him, their arms brushing occasionally. When they reached her driveway, they paused, neither wanting the night to end. "Thank you for a wonderful evening, Michael." "It was my pleasure, Danielle. May I see you again?" His question hung between them, and Danielle's heart raced. She knew she should say no, that involving someone else in her secret life was risky. But the prospect of seeing him again, of continuing this fantasy, was irresistible. "I'd like that." She couldn't deny herself, and his smile made her insides flutter. "How about dinner tomorrow night? There's a great little Italian place I know." "That sounds lovely." He leaned in, and for a moment she thought he might kiss her. But instead he brushed her hair back gently and placed a soft kiss on her forehead. "Good night, Danielle." His whisper was soft, and she felt a warmth spread through her. "Good night, Michael." She watched him walk away, his figure fading into the night. With a sigh, she turned and headed inside, her mind racing with the events of the evening. Once inside, Danielle leaned against the door, her heart pounding. She couldn't believe what had just happened, the connection she'd felt with Michael. It was like something out of a dream, a fantasy come to life. She slipped off her heels, her feet aching from the unfamiliar footwear. As she padded to the bedroom, she caught sight of herself in the mirror. Her makeup was slightly smudged, her hair a little mussed, but she looked happy. radiant even. Carefully, she removed her wig, setting it on the dresser. She wiped off her makeup, revealing Darius underneath. But even as she shed the physical trappings of Danielle, she couldn't shake the feelings that lingered. Darius sat on the edge of the bed, his mind whirling. He had never intended for Danielle to be more than a private escape, a way to express a part of himself he kept hidden. But now, with Michael in the picture, things had become complicated. He knew he should put a stop to it, call Michael and cancel their date. It wasn't fair to lead him on, to pretend to be someone he wasn't. But the thought of never seeing him again, of never feeling that spark again, was unbearable. Darius laid back on the bed, staring at the ceiling. He had a decision to make, and he knew it wouldn't be easy. He could continue to see Michael as Danielle, to live out this fantasy. But that would mean lying, not just to Michael, but to himself. Or he could come clean, tell Michael the truth about who he was. But that risked rejection, humiliation, and the loss of the one person who had made him feel truly alive. As he drifted off to sleep, Darius's mind was filled with visions of Danielle and Michael, of a future that seemed both tantalizingly close and impossibly far away. The next day, Darius went about his routine, but his mind was elsewhere. He couldn't focus on his work, his thoughts constantly drifting to the previous night and the impending dinner with Michael. As the day wore on, his nervousness grew. He changed outfits several times, trying to find the perfect balance between Danielle's femininity and his own comfort. He settled on a simple black dress, one that hugged his curves without being too revealing. He took his time with his makeup, wanting to look perfect. He chose a softer look than the previous night, with warm browns and golds that made his eyes sparkle. He added a touch of blush, a swipe of lipstick, and he was ready. As he looked at himself in the mirror, he felt a sense of pride. Danielle was a part of him, a part he had nurtured and created. She was beautiful, confident, and ready for whatever the night might bring. He arrived at the restaurant a few minutes early, his heart racing. He scanned the room, looking for Michael. When he spotted him, his breath caught in his throat. Michael looked handsome, dressed in a crisp white shirt and dark slacks. He stood when he saw Danielle, a smile spreading across his face. "Danielle, you look stunning." He greeted her with a kiss on the cheek, and Danielle felt a blush rise to her face. "Thank you, Michael. You look very handsome yourself." They sat, and a waiter brought them menus. As they perused the options, they fell into easy conversation, picking up where they had left off the night before. Michael was engaging and attentive, asking Danielle about her life, her interests. She found herself opening up to him, sharing stories and laughing at his jokes. It felt natural, comfortable, like they had known each other for years. As the evening progressed, Danielle found herself getting lost in the fantasy. She was no longer Darius playing a role, but a woman on a date with a man she liked. She leaned into the role, flirting and teasing, enjoying the sparkle in Michael's eyes. But as the night wore on, a nagging thought began to creep into her mind. She was living a lie, pretending to be someone she wasn't. It wasn't fair to Michael, and it wasn't fair to herself. The thought festered, growing louder and more insistent. As Michael talked about his plans for the future, about his hopes and dreams, Danielle felt a knot form in her stomach. She excused herself, heading to the restroom. She locked herself in a stall, her breathing heavy. She looked at herself in the mirror, at the face she had created. She loved Danielle, loved the confidence and freedom she provided. But she knew she couldn't keep living this lie. With a heavy heart, she returned to the table. Michael looked up at her, his smile faltering when he saw her expression. "Danielle, is everything okay? Michael, I need to tell you something." Her voice was shaky, and she could feel tears pricking at the corners of her eyes. "What is it? You can tell me anything." His concern was genuine, and it made what she had to do even harder. I haven't been entirely honest with you. Danielle, she's not real. She's a part of me, but she's not who I am." Michael's brow furrowed in confusion. I don't understand. What do you mean she's not real? Danielle took a deep breath, steeling herself. My name is Darius. I'm a man who likes to dress as a woman sometimes. Danielle is an expression of that part of me, but she's not my true self. There was a long pause, and Danielle could see the wheels turning in Michael's head. She braced herself for his reaction, for anger or disgust. But when he spoke, his voice was soft. Darius, why didn't you tell me? I was afraid of rejection, of judgment. Danielle, she makes me feel confident and beautiful. But I know it's not fair to you, to start a relationship based on a lie. Michael reached across the table, taking Danielle's hand in his. Darius, I'm not going to pretend this isn't a surprise, but I like you. The person I've gotten to know over these past 2 nights, that's who I'm interested in. Whether your name is Danielle or Darius, that doesn't change. Danielle felt tears spill over, running down her cheeks. Really? You still want to see me? Even knowing... Yes, I want to know all of you, Darius. Danielle is a part of that, but she's not the whole picture. I want to know the man behind the mask, too. Danielle squeezed his hand, a wave of relief washing over her. She had been so afraid, so sure that this revelation would be the end. But Michael's acceptance, his willingness to see beyond the surface, it meant everything. I want that too. I want you to know me, the real me. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out Patreon for a lot more content and early access to YouTube videos.